Welcome back. Today we're going to unbox the latest Dasaita unit. It's an Android 13 head unit, and this one's made specifically for the Toyota Highlander for model years 2014 through 19. And I'll be installing this in my 2016 Highlander. But before we get to that, we're going to unbox it, figure out what we've got. It came very well packaged. It came in an outer box, and this more retail type box is very well labeled. It says what we've got here with the model number on it. It's got some stats on the back about the processor, Qualcomm, Bluetooth, Realtek, the model number, etc., etc. If you watch my channel, you know I've recently, a few months ago, put in a more generic Android radio in my daughter's Mazda. This one, specifically, I had researched for my wife's Highlander, being our more full-time car for the whole family. Wanted to get something higher quality. And by the way, coincidence, Dasaita reached out to me and said, hey, would you review this unit? They'd seen some of my other Highlander videos, and you can see those. I'll link to a few of them up here in my automotive playlist if you want to see those. But right away, we've got a thank you for choosing us, kind of a registration card in here, and about the warranty registration. And then we've got an overview and installation steps for the Toyota Highlander. And there it confirms the model years, radio removal steps. So some really nice extra things here that you don't get with the more generic kits. Very well detailed, tells you everything that should be in the box there. Also comes with a user manual. Very nicely packed here. We're going to carefully pull this out. See what we've got here. Accessory cable, all very well labeled there. Some radio removal tools. And the power cable and some other things. All nicely packaged. Look at this. Look at this. This is actually a very nice looking head unit. Looks very OEM. If you've got a Highlander and you're looking for an OEM look, consider this model. You can see in here that the radio buttons here show up similar to what they do on your own Highlander. Home, back, audio, and navigation. The manual volume switch. It's got a good feel to it. In the back of it, on a lot of Android units now, you might have something flat, and that could be subject to overheating. I like the way that they got all these things away from the screen, and they are basically giving it more room to vent, more room to stay cool in here. It's where all your cables are going to plug in. You've got, looks like an HDMI right there, antenna hookup, a fuse, and then the model number to confirm it. So very nice looking unit here. Wish you could feel this. It's got a protective little screen on it here. Wish you could feel that. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to open up some of these cables. Okay, so this is the main power harness right here. It's only going to plug into one place. It has a little tab that you push and push it in easily. First, what we did is we plugged in the harness and all the cables where we want them to go. Now there's a couple things I've omitted for now just because they take up a lot of room. There's a SIM card area. Now this is the radio, have its own like 5G service or 4G service from your cellular provider. We're not going to plug that in, or if we do, we'll route it to where we can add it later. And this is the 4G antenna. So likewise, if you don't plan to use a 4G antenna, this is the GPS, and we will hook that up later, but it's a little bulky. So I've got most of my cables set up here. So as you can see, not every port's going to be used here. Some of these are alternative ports for different setups and things like that. So you can't do anything wrong here as far as they'll only plug into one port. This will plug into one area, the USBs plug into one area, and so forth. Not going to go through all that because you really can't do anything wrong. We're going to go to the vehicle and we're going to hook this up after we take off the dash. So you really can't go wrong with this radio. They make it specifically for the Toyota Highlander, and that's one of the reasons why I actually chose it independently before they reached out to me. You've got a support number on here and everything, and then it shows you generally step by step. And this is different than your generic Android radio that does Apple CarPlay and Android Audio, because you have to figure out a few things yourself on some of those models. They're not that difficult, but this one should be plug and play more so than any of those others, because Dasaita has actually sent you what you need for your specific model. So the first thing that we're going to do is remove the long trim piece that's right here. And to do that, they've included a few tools. A couple of tools. So what you want to do is you want to feel along the surface here and then pop this off. And it comes off just that easy, just like you saw. Now you want to just work your way around there gently. And believe it or not, this molding, to my knowledge, has never come off in this vehicle. And so far, it's easy as that. Wherever you feel a stuck piece, you want to put that tool up under there. Once that's done, you want to come in here and you want to unplug these things and get this just out of the way. Once you have removed that piece, you want to go straight in here and you want to remove the AC pieces. So they should come out relatively easy too, this one and that one. Just give them a simple tug. This top piece is coming out too. Now that piece also comes out. Let's see if we can go ahead and get that out of the way. We did. Now we've got the AC grill, and it's come out very easily. And just tugging on these things with my fingertips actually got these things out of there. So now I'm only just a couple minutes into this, and I've got a good clear view of what's going on. I've got two bolts are right there, and they're 10 millimeter. If you can find your 10 millimeter socket, right? One of the most popular sockets in the world that may tend to go missing sometimes. Now I'm pretty sure one of the things that you might end up missing on most of these radios is the HD radio. In the United States, that's a thing. In the rest of the world, it didn't really catch on. I do like HD radio because it gives you lots of other radio stations. I think the trade-off is well worth it in this case. And the ability to get any kind of radio station over the internet with all the apps that are on here even surpasses HD radio. Now you've got a couple more bolts right here at the bottom. Now that you got both of those out, you just give it a good little tug and it comes straight out. Plenty of slack on the Highlander to get in here and get to the cables you need to get out. You can see all these cables here need to come off. This is where your trim removal tool comes in handy. That little tab will help you pop these out. Just press down and work each one out. Once you pull that out, that one's actually going to probably stay on the radio. Now you've got these. Now the good news is these are uniquely shaped, so they should only plug into one area of the ports that you have available on the new radio. Alright, let's do a pretty cool look here and look at these radios side by side. The OEM radio and the one that's going to replace it. I think you would agree that Dasaita did a great job of reflecting the OEM look while allowing you to update your vehicle significantly. We've more or less followed our directions specifically here. We removed all the trim. We've removed the old radio and the plugs. Now that we're down here to this step below, it says go ahead and connect your new harness to the radio. And I'll go ahead and look forward to the next step. Remove the yellow clips from the OEM radio and put on the new radio. So this is the OEM radio. You see these yellow clips here? You'll want to retain those. You can simply pry these off with your fingernail or your tool here and you can save them. You simply spread these out and slide them off, and there's only two of them, and simply push them onto the new radio. Now that you have those clips on, we're going to match these plugs up, plug for plug, and they can't go in the wrong area because they each have a unique shape. Okay, and once you have everything plugged up that more or less matches, you may have some extra plugs because there's going to be some things that are unused from the old radio. Maybe satellite radio antennas and maybe local Bluetooth. I've got everything plugged up that more or less matches up. You've got some alternate things in here for your own use that you could use, like for the subwoofer, to wire speakers differently. You've also got front cameras and things of that nature. So here's what I would suggest. Once you get all your plugs that you've seen lined up, you want to go ahead and slide this in and then test the radio. And here's one I missed. Now, of course, we're not going to slide this in all the way. We're just going to slide it into where we can have some area to test it. The first time these boot up, they have a longer boot process, and then they have a sleep mode where they'll refresh. That's generally the case with all these Android OS based radios. Of course, they use Apple CarPlay and other things. So you see, we booted fully up, so we've got everything pretty much in place for the initial operation, where I'm just going to run through and test a few things. We'll probably take out the portion of the radio because of copyright music, but the radio work. Go to the navigation. Of course, you probably won't end up using the GPS on these now that you have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You'll just use those. It's always good to have them. And it's not going to find a GPS signal because I didn't plug that in. So this is the reason why you test. Now it's found a GPS signal. I'm not going to show my map for obvious reasons to show you anything beyond that. First time I plugged up my Android Auto and it's kicking right in. You have to verify the settings on your phone. And we're in good shape here. I'm going to do a couple of other tests that you won't be privy to seeing because I'll edit them out, but I'm going to make a phone call and a couple of other things. Now I'm going to test the steering wheel, see if that works. There's a little microphone button. Navigate to Free Chapel in Gainesville, Georgia. Okay, it found that. You're obviously invited to come to our church at any time over there in Gainesville, Georgia. Love to have you. So the cool thing here is that the buttons on the steering wheel appear to work out of the box. So I've got my volume button working, I've got the volume down working, and everything else on there. Now let's see if the phone call button works. Okay, you have to pair your devices first. So the button worked, but it prompted me on the radio to pair my device for the first time. So I'm going to do that. Well, you know the PIN number, once it does come up, is all zeros, 4 zeros across the board. Went into the head unit settings, connected devices, Bluetooth. Okay, it took me a minute to figure out, but it's called Car Kit. You can change the name of that as well. I think I will. And now we're connected. One final thing I want to test, and we'll see if this is truly plug and play or maybe I missed a cable. Does the reverse camera work? No. This was not connected to that. So out of the plug that you'd put in here, there's a plug that comes in out of the car and comes into the radio, into the one called camera. Of course, you also have a front camera and a back camera and things like that. So let's see if that makes that work. It works, and it works great. So you can change these lines and things like that later, but that's up to you. Now, as I said earlier, some of these things you don't plan to end up using, but there's some room in here in the dash that you can just lay these items, such as the 4G antenna, the SIM card adapter, and things of that nature. So take those and route those yourself, where you can access them later by popping off a small piece of trim or maybe under the dash. That's going to be up to you where you want to put those things. You do not want to block your airbag, which is over in here, so don't do that. One thing I'm going to stop and do at this point is these USB cables, so you have access to them later. In the Highlander, you've got a little hole here, but there's no way to get to them here. And no one is ever going to see if you come in here and you notch out a hole or drill a quick hole and then bring them through. So that's what we're going to do initially. If we want to do something a little better later, we'll do that. At this point, I want to share something I missed. The cable that looks like this that came with the Dasaita radio kit, you want to make sure that plugs up, and this will enable you to put your phone, the one that is marked phone for USB, to wire that behind the scenes to where it comes out into your OEM jack down below. Right now in the video I show all three cables that I just pulled through to dangle down, and so it's working. But if you want to reuse your USB port in your car, make sure you plug this one up. One thing to note is this is a wireless radio, so once you've got it connected anyway, you won't need these that often. But you do need these to charge phones a lot of times, and we have a shortage of those in our Highlander, and they may work better than the OEM one too. So I'm going to have them all three accessible. Find a location back here in the back. Now this is something that you'll have to decide if it's right for you or not. Now we have access, or we will have access to all of those cables in our Highlander right down here. My plan is to drop it back down in here, pull it out here, come over here to the window trim, which you may not be able to see. So I brought that microphone wire through here, and then I dropped it through the back. And this is easier to do if you take the jack end of it and do this before you do the radio, but I was able to get the microphone through there nonetheless. Then I was able to take the glove compartment out, and there's a hole right there, and you're able to reach through and drop it out. Take the molding and it just simply pulls away. You can grab your microphone and we'll tuck it up through here. So that worked fairly nicely. We got the cable pushed in there. One thing you want to be careful of is do not block your airbag. You want to go on the top side of your airbag. You don't want anything blocking your airbag. Then we tucked the cable through there. We brought it through here, and then we're going to give it a little zip tie right there. Okay, let's put on our final trim piece. Plug our cables back up. And let's give it one final test. Radio works. Android Auto came in clear, automatically, wirelessly. And our backup camera works. So that's how you update your Highlander with a Dasaita radio. OEM as can be, plug and play as can be. I didn't cut a single wire, I didn't use a single adapter, and it works perfectly. Wirelessly, you have new USB jacks, you've got all this OEM look. So if you're in the market to update your head unit in your Highlander for any of the models I mentioned, check out the links below where you can learn more information and you can buy this unit. I think you'll be very pleased with it. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.